What's going on, Alabama fans? Chris Daughtry back with you guys here on the Alabama Football Report. You know what it is. Win, loss, or I guess there's no draws in college football. We do our overreaction Sunday video for you guys. Alabama ended up losing last night to Oklahoma 23-21 in a game where you probably should have won, but it just did not fall your way. Multiple turnovers ended up really being the key to why Alabama ended up losing that game last night. And, every single time Alabama ends up losing a game, there's going to be a lot of overreactions. So we're going to go through those today. First one here is Alabama is out of the college football playoff hunt. I think this is a overreaction for a couple of reasons here. I went through the, SEC championship game, scenarios. There's a website out there that you guys can go click through, the different scenarios there. And there wasn't a single scenario that I was able to find anyways where, as long as Alabama ends up beating Auburn in a couple of weeks, you still are able to end up making the SEC championship game. And if you win the SEC championship game, obviously you're into the college football playoffs. And still, if there is some situation where, I wasn't able to find, some type of scenario where Alabama's not able to make the SEC championship game, I think at the very most, Alabama probably only drops to 10 in the college football playoff rankings. Obviously, maybe I'm crazy. Maybe they end up dropping even further than that. But look, Oklahoma's got the number 7 scoring defense in the country. They lead the country in a lot of different types of metrics out there. And while the loss was very, very disappointing, you lose it 23-21. If you don't turn the ball over a couple of times, you still end up winning that game. And I just kind of feel like with the wins that Alabama already has on their schedule right now, you still probably aren't going to drop totally out of the top 12 there. And I know you still have to be inside the top 12 because there's going to be a couple of teams that, end up dropping some teams out that are inside the top 12. That's why Alabama didn't make the college football playoffs last year. But I as of right now, I don't think you're out of it. If you take care of business and you win next week and then you go to, Jordan-Hare Stadium in a couple of weeks, I still think you're in the college football playoffs. So I want to hear from you guys, though, down at the pinned comment of today's video. After the loss versus Oklahoma, is Alabama out of the college football playoff race? I saw a ton of people saying, during our live show last night that the season was over after this loss. So I'm not tripping right now because I don't think Alabama's out of the college football playoffs at this point right now. If you lose to Auburn, yeah, you would be out of it then. But, the keys are still in Alabama's hands right now. So let me know. Is Alabama out of the college football playoff race? Type Y for yes or N for no down at the pinned comment of today's video. I saw a lot of this in our live chat last night as well. It is time to bench Ty Simpson for Keelon Russell. I think this is crazy considering Keelon Russell, for one, probably isn't even quarterback 2 right now. I would still think it's probably going to be Austin Mack to be quarterback 2. But, Ty did not have the best game ever last night. He had the pick 6. He had the fumble, which really kind of, continues to be an issue here. This is the 5th game in a row where Ty Simpson has ended up fumbling the football. When we talk about that pick 6 for a second, there were a couple of things on that. Oklahoma brought a blitz from the linebacker on that play. Parker Brailsford ended up going left, try to double team, help the, left guard on that play. The blitz came from the right side. Maybe you could say that Parker Brailsford needed to come over and pick up the blitz there. I'm not really sure, obviously, what the, offensive line, blocking scheme was on that. But Ty Simpson did what he was supposed to do when you're talking about blitzes. You're supposed to throw into the blitz, and he did that. And, you're trying to hit Isaiah Horton on that play. And if you go back and you look at the play, Isaiah Horton did kind of, I don't think it was DPI on that play. I just kind of think it was a series of unfortunate events on that play. He kind of got clipped. The defensive back and Isaiah Horton kind of both, their legs ran into each other on that play. And I think the ball's probably where it needs to be. But because Isaiah Horton kind of got knocked off of his route on that play, He just wasn't able to get where the ball was supposed to be there. So, was Ty Simpson perfect in this game? Absolutely not. But he still threw for over 300 yards in this game. And, you had the interception. You had the fumble, which I will say the fumbles do continue to be an issue for Ty Simpson. But benching Ty Simpson for Austin Mack or Keelon Russell, I'm going to say that's an overreaction all day. All right, we'll continue with some more overreactions here in just a second. But first, today's show is brought to you by PrizePicks. The hard-hitting football action is even better with PrizePicks, and the weather might be changing right now, but the feeling of being right never gets old. So keep the season rolling on PrizePicks by getting $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. This is what producer Aiden cooked up for us last night, and it almost ended up hitting, but unfortunately it didn't at the end of the day. Went with Germie Bernard, more than receiving yards for him. That one hit. He ended up finishing the game with 7 receptions for 71 yards. John Mateer, at one point in this game, he had 30 rushing yards, but he only finished with 23 after a couple sacks later in the game. So that one did not hit, and Ty Simpson, unfortunately, was not able to get the 1.5 passing touchdowns. We were really hoping that last drive of the game, they were going to be able to end up getting that one. But you know what? That's just how it ends up happening sometimes. PrizePicks, by the way, the only app that offers stacks, meaning that you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. You want to pick more on Josh Allen passing yards, rush yards, and touchdowns. Now you can pick all of them in the same lineup only on PrizePicks. PrizePicks, by the way, also offers injury reboots. This is one of my favorite things about PrizePicks. If one of your players leaves the game in the first half and doesn't return, PrizePicks won't count it as a loss. So download the PrizePicks app today and use promo code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's promo code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That link is down in the comment section and the description of today's video. We appreciate PrizePicks for being the sponsor of our show today. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. This is another one that I saw in the live chat during our show last night. Ryan Grubb had a bad game. Calling plays. I think this is an overreaction too. Look, when the offense goes out there and they have, over 400 total yards of offense, I don't think you can really put that on the offensive coordinator. There were multiple plays in this game where Alabama really needed a first down, whether it was Daniel Hill, lining up in Wildcat, or that play, on 4th down on that last drive, obviously not the one that you ended up not getting there. But, you line Caden Proctor up at running back, and then Latsier Brooks comes in motion, going to the right side. That's another really good play call as well. So, I would absolutely not put this game on Ryan Grubb here. The offense did, outside of the turnovers, I don't think you could put this on Ryan Grubb. They had 406 total yards. I think execution really was the reason why Alabama's offense was just not able to end up finishing drives there. So, I know a lot of people want to put it on Ryan Grubb. The offensive line, we'll talk about that as well. Some, differences that they have had in the past. You had Wilkin Formby at that right guard spot and Michael Carroll at the right tackle spot. I think Wilkin Formby looked a whole lot better at that right guard spot, and I think it helped in your run game as well. So I'm not going to put this on Ryan Grubb either. I thought he played a pretty decent game. Maybe there's some, specific play calls that maybe you could have question marks at the end of the day, but, totally on Ryan Grubb, nah, I think that's an overreaction. All right, make sure you guys are subscribed right here to the Alabama Football Report. We have videos for you guys all season and off season long, totally free here on the channel. So do not miss out. Make sure you guys join the community here at the Alabama Football Report. And we're also going to be live for every single Alabama game of the season, whether that is the remainder of the regular season, the SEC championship game if they make there, and the college football playoffs as well. So join the community here at the Alabama Football Report and hit that sub button for free right now. Another one that we saw during the live chat last night was you got to fire Kalen DeBoer. I think this is crazy. This is the first home loss for Kalen DeBoer since he was hired as Alabama's head coach. And I mean, what did Kalen DeBoer last night? What decision did Kalen DeBoer make last night was the reason why you ended up losing this game. I don't think it was preparation. You talk about discipline. A lot of that has to do on the coaching staff. Alabama, if I'm not mistaken, only had one penalty last night. Trying to find that really quick, make sure I'm right on that, for like 10 yards or so. 2 penalties for 25 yards last night. I mean, I don't think there's anything that Kalen DeBoer could have done that, is reason to have any kind of reaction like this. I mean, really, it comes down to the execution, whether it's Connor Talty missing the field goal right before halftime, or Ty Simpson throwing the interception, or Ty Simpson having that fumble, or even Ryan Williams, having the fumble on that, punt return. There's been a thing that I've asked for. They still put Cole Adams back there to return punts, but they had him up a little bit, and they put Ryan Williams back there, a little bit deeper to return punts as well. So that was another situation where they're trying to, have some more explosive types of plays in special teams. And, putting Ryan Williams back there, he's supposed to be one of your best players on the team right now. So, people going out there and saying fire Kalen DeBoer after this loss last night, I still think that's an overreaction as well. All right, overreaction number 5, Daniel Hill needs more touches. This is the one, not overreaction that we're going to have here on today's show. He continues to show that, he really might be running back one for this Alabama team. Had 15 carries last night for 60 yards, 2 more touchdowns. And, there's a lot of plays where Daniel Hill might have been stopped like right at the line of scrimmage, and he was able to fight forward for another 4 or 5 yards out there. Jam Miller continues to struggle in these games. Again, last night only had 9 carries for 27 yards. Just really hasn't been able to get anything going. And I thought last night there were some, opportunities in the run game where the offensive line actually did a pretty decent job, and Daniel Hill was able to take advantage of those opportunities. So, at this point right now, I think you got to continue to feed Daniel Hill. I would love to see him get 20 carries in a game. Coming into this game, I thought we were going to see a little bit of AK Deer. Did not, end up happening. Daniel Hill, Jam Miller were your 1-2 running back punch in this game tonight. And I thought Daniel Hill, continues to just prove himself to be Alabama's running back one right now. So before we get out of here, pick a running back for me. Who do you guys think is running back one for this Alabama team right now? Type 4 for Daniel Hill or type 26 for Jam Miller?